During the Ice Age, life was very difficult for the first Americans. To combat the cold weather and the scarcity of food, they would travel or migrate from place to place. One thing they did do, they would follow animals such as the mammoth, because that was their main source of food. The Ice Age started about 2 million years ago and ended about 10,000 years ago. It got so cold during this Ice Age that sometimes huge glaciers would form over the land itself. The Bering Strait was a narrow strip of water that today it separates Siberia and Alaska, but at one time it became so shallow that you could cross over it, and they called it the land bridge that was joining the two continents, known as Beringia. So let me just draw something really quick. So we'll say that this over here, that is Siberia. Over here we have the coast of Alaska. All right, so in between here right now we have water. But the Ice Age, all the water got so caught up in glaciers that it became more and more shallow, forming a land bridge across. That is Beringia. So it enabled some early hunters and people that would follow the mammoth. They would come over the land bridge from Siberia over to Alaska into North America. These bands of hunters would go on to follow the mammoth, and probably usually made up of one or two families. These nomads would go from one place to the next, so that wherever the food was, that's where they would follow. If the theory that the land bridge actually existed is correct, that would mean that humans came here about 12,000 years ago. But there's one theory that suggests that they could actually be here earlier. Some scientists, known as archaeologists, have suggested that even though the land bridge emerged 45,000 to 75,000 years ago, that the hunters actually could have traveled by the way of Beringia by boat. Instead of walking across Beringia, they could have gone along the coast there and came to the Americas. They have uncovered multiple artifacts which can raise that are anywhere from 14,000 to 15,000 years old, but there are a few more than 19,000 years old. Some archaeologists believe some of the artifacts that they have found are more than 30,000 years old. However, many people do not believe that there is enough evidence or proof that people arrived in the Americas any earlier than 12,000 years ago. Some say the artifacts found are not artifacts at all. They could be made by wind or water. But archaeologists today, they continue to search for more evidence of the past. And every time they find something, new information about the past is brought forward. Part of these artifacts are Native American stories called origin stories. Now, origin stories, if you're a fan of comic books or superheroes, you know that the origin story is how the things began. Some origin stories will tell about the early Native American peoples. They usually deal with something, animals, natural surroundings, mountains, rivers, rocks, and other things. They all play a part in origin stories. So some of the origin stories that we know, we uncover, can give us little snippets of past things that have happened around right after the Ice Age.